meeting to order of Shelby County Supervisors on this November 1st. Do you guys have any conflict of interest on the agenda today?
None.
No, sir.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Charlie, second by Darren. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Had a chance to look over the claims of October 31st.
Yes.
Any changes to them, Mark?
No.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the claims as presented?
So moved.
Moved
Second.
by Darren, second by Charlie. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay, consider approval of the minutes of October 25th. Any changes there at all, Mark?
Not since published, no.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of October 25th as presented?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Charlie, second by Darren. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. At this time, I'll take a motion to recess the regular meeting and open the public hearing for resolution 2022-47.
Make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Charlie, second by Darren. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So at this time, we're opening the hearing for resolution 2022-47. Mark, will you give us an update on that?
Sure. First of all, we have received no comment, public comment
Okay.
on it. And the amount to bring the total in the TIF fund up to 200,000 is $117,200.35. Would be advanced from the general fund to the TIF fund, just for a nice corpus to use.
And this is a process, for anybody that pays attention, this is a process we do every year. We can use our TIF funds, add secondary roads for bridges and road improvements. So it's a
And that's-
process we have to go through.
That's rather than secondary roads using their actual funds,
Right.
you know, it's there. And it can be
So
done this
we've
way.
been at 200,000 for years. Are we looking at changing that, increasing it ever?
If it does go over, secondary roads just gets paid back themselves. They get paid back no matter what from our TIF revenues.
Okay.
Um,
Okay, so we're just trying to keep
It's
that.
kind of starter money
Yeah,
to get it going, really what it is. It's not an exact science.
since I've been in office, I think one year there was certified 348,000, so they used 148,000 of their own money.
Okay,
We try to do as little as
Situation.
we can to get
Yeah.
it started.
okay, okay.
Okay, and it gets paid back. Brandon, do you have anything to add to that?
No.
Any issues? No. Okay, like I said, it's a legal process we need to go through. Any comments at this time from the public? You said you had no written comments?
No.
Do you guys have any other comments?
No.
Okay, I have a motion to close the hearing.
Motion.
Moved by Charlie, second by Darren. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. So with that, do I have a motion to consider resolution 2022-47 for Shelby County to incur non-current debt, which is our TIP debt?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Darren, second by Charlie. Any other questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Approve the appointment of county medical investigators. Jenny, how are you this morning?
Good morning.
Jenny's at the hospital.
Yep, I'm Jenny Lefever from the emergency room. I work with Dr. Markham as the coroner. We'd like to add 3 additional death investigators to the roster. Gretchen King, Mary Krychek, and Franny DeLauder. They would just help be on call to go investigate those deaths that occur in the county unattended. So at home or an accident,
Okay.
they would go to the scene.
Are they replacing anybody, or is it just to kind of fill in when other, like Mark and I are
More
gone?
just adding to, no one has really fallen off, but we like adding nurses. They just are a little more available to leave suddenly than the physicians.
Okay.
Do they need any additional?
Within 2
Training.
years, they have to attend the state required training, and that's in May. So they have the handbook, they're gonna train with Dr. Markham and the other investigators until that time. They're really happy to help us out. A lot of 2 a.m., kind of middle of the night call out investigations, so it'll be quite helpful.
And they're, I take it, all on board with this? too?
Yep, volunteer.
Okay.
Not volunteer, volunteer, yep, yep.
Okay. You guys have any other questions?
None.
Do I have a motion to approve the appointments?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Charlie, second by Darren. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Department head report, Brandon Burmeister, Secondary Roads. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, gentlemen. First item I have is approval of a utility permit for Nishnabotna Valley REC. It's about a half mile line right on the south edge of the county. They have their insurance in, they have their bond in, and they're not accessing any properties, just all within the right of way. It's about a half mile, and then they cross back into Pot County. So
Okay.
I would recommend approval of that.
Meet all our right-of-way requirements?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Do you guys have any questions on that?
None. I'll make a motion, we approve.
Second.
Okay, have a motion and a second to approve utility permit 2022-10-26 for Nishnabotna REC. Motion by Darren, second by Charlie. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you.
And you also have consideration approval of 2022-48, a resolution to vacate a portion of Beach Road, which, that's been about a year ago we talked about this, wasn't it?
We met in August of #21.
Okay.
We had our public hearing then, and basically we left it, the board left it with Mr. Wagner. Contact us when you're ready to close this. I had not heard a word from him since then. Kind of left it on them to contact us, and then Rob and Phil contacted me and said, hey, we'd like to close this.
So we had our public hearing back then.
Yes.
There was no problem with the neighbors or anybody else vacating that road. They're actually doing the work, correct?
Yes, yep, we didn't hear any complaints from the neighbors, and they're gonna push it in with their dozer, and we'll provide a maintainer for a couple hours at the end to smooth the dirt.
Awesome.
But been in discussions with Harrison County REC, so basically the only caveat that will go along with this resolution is there will be a right-of-way, an easement for Harrison County REC for their utility line that will remain. But that's pretty standard when
Do they have to move it or anything?
Nope, no, I don't believe
They're
they
just
were
working
gonna
around
move
it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So do I have a motion to approve this permit, or this vacate the portion of Beach Road?
Motion.
Motion by Charlie, second by Darren. You guys have any other questions?
So what are we doing different than what we did a year ago, I guess, is my question.
Officially closing it.
Yeah, we
voted to approve it last year, and now
Yeah.
we're just
now
saying.
we had a
it's
public
officially
hearing.
Yep, so when you have the public hearing, if there's any objections or if the crops are still in or anything like that, you can vote to table the actual vacation of the right-of-way until a future date, and that's what we did.
And if I remember right, REC had some questions about it yet.
Yep, and I've talked to Shen
I remember
with
that, yeah.
Harrison County, and I'll call him again this morning.
Okay.
And the Wagners were assured that they know that they have to leave an easement for that utility line in there, so.
Okay.
I guess otherwise with our department.
Well, I didn't vote on this.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
With a motion and second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay, now you can move.
Okay, otherwise in our department, unfortunately, had to close a bridge at the intersection of 2000th and Dingo. It's about a mile west of this town of Erling. Got a call on a Monday morning, went out there and looked at the deck, and it was pretty chewed up, and went underneath it, and actually there was a failed piling, and the pier cap was spanning about 8 feet, supporting a 60-foot span. So had discussions with our bridge engineer, and he's recommended closure of it. So currently we're evaluating options for replacement or not of that structure, but report back to you at a future date on that.
Okay.
I called everybody involved that would have been impacted by that, and discussed it with them. So.
Did you say this was already in our 5-year plan to replace that anyway?
It was not.
It was
not. There's 2 bridges on this dirt road. The other one was on the
Okay.
5-year plan. So evaluating options as to, everybody still has access, but it's not an ideal situation. So Bridge crew, they're up on 1400 east of Wildwood. There was a wood box that had failed there. We're replacing it with a culvert. They poured concrete yesterday. They'll start backfilling probably tomorrow, so it should be open by the end of the week. One of the excavators is working on ditching on 2200 west of M56. We're building up intersections around there. So all those intersections up to M56, they came up like this, and we're tapering them out so you can pull up there with a semi instead of rolling the intersection and making an unsafe situation. Guys are out patching and Durapatching, probably the last day for Durapatching. We're about out of oil and the weather's gonna change on us here, so. And then finishing up on 2200 with the road grinder, got a little bit of work to do there, and then there's a couple spot oil removals where we've sent people letters and either haven't heard back or they said tear them up, so gonna hit those and then take the grinder back to Weston, so. That's all I have for today.
Okay.
Thanks, Brandon.
Where we sitting with rock piles?
They're all stockpiled full. Gonna see how we're doing with money here before the first of the year, and maybe try to haul a little more into them. Kind of dependent on the fall. If it's good, we don't have to haul a bunch of rock, we probably won't do that.
Right.
But if we take a bunch out of them, then we'll fill them back up before rock goes up through.
We're probably done with railroad cars in Denison.
One more is coming in.
Oh, really?
They wanted to push one more in, so we're getting another 1,000 tons up there.
Fairly soon.
Into the week or beginning of next
Okay.
week is what I was
Fine, yeah.
told, but yeah, when it comes in, then they give us a call.
Well, thanks
So,
for staying on top of that.
yeah, we're trying our best, but it's weird. They have 20,000 tons in a pile and then the trucks go and there's none there, so it's just, it's different world we're living in, but,
Okay,
so, thank you.
thank you. Next, Todd Deline, Shelby County Chamber and Industry Report. Good morning, Todd.
Morning. Just a few updates. This past weekend had multiple events take place throughout the county to celebrate harvest, to celebrate Halloween. Had fantastic attendance to them all. Got a lot of really good reports from the community about how much they enjoy it, and kind of, just looking around when we were on the downtown square on Saturday, saw lots of license plates from outside of Shelby County, so that was beneficial. Recently attended the Western Iowa Tourism meeting. If you haven't heard, the state's decided to change how they do tourism. And we used to have multiple regions, of course Western Iowa being one of them. And now they just split the state in half. There's a Western and an Eastern, and they've just assigned an individual to each to try to interact with us. So Western Iowa Tourism themselves are going to try to maintain what they have been doing all along, and then we're just going to look for ways to add revenue for them. So as an example, you may have seen the Western Iowa guide that the Tribune puts out every year that just has kind of the very southwest Iowa locations and events that are taking place. But we're going to expand that to all of Western Iowa and offer those folks that are new to it an opportunity, whether it's their economic development office or their chamber of commerce, to help us by selling ads, selling sponsorships for that, and then they'll get the commission on it, so to speak. So it's a new way for them to generate revenue, and it'll help out the tourism group. The other thing that I found out from talking with them, sounds like there might have been a change since the last time we put up the Shelby County, Welcome to Shelby County signs. If you remember back then, the DOT told me I couldn't put any type of a website or anything on that signage. Well, there might have been a change there, and I'm hoping so, because if there has, then what we'll do is we'll add that exploreshelbycounty.com website to all of our Welcome to Shelby County signs. So, these days, that's where everybody's going to their phone to find out what's going on, in the area when they pull in. So I'd like to be able to promote that if that has changed. So hopefully it has, and I can get that added before the weather gets back. But other than that, we're just got our standard events coming up, putting together Santa Claus is coming to town, and Santa in the cabins, and Santa this and Santa that, and kind of just looking forward to a great holiday season. So
Okay.
that's it. Thanks, Todd.
Thank you, sir. Oh, we moved through that fairly quick. At this time, we're going to recess the regular meeting.
There's one more action item on there To do the addition, to change the date.
Now, I'm doing that at the public hearing as it relates to the public hearing. When we open the public hearing, when we open the regular meeting,
Okay.
before we open up the public hearing. Okay, so I'm going to recess at this time. Thank you. Till 10 o'clock. At this time, we've recessed our regular meeting. I'm going to open up our regular meeting. And before we get into our public hearing, we have one item of business on our regular meeting, which is to consider amend the effective date of Shelby County Ordinance Amendment to immediately be effected upon publication for this ordinance 2022-4. We have it in our ordinance right now that it would start January 1 of 2023, and we put that in there originally because we really didn't know where we were going to be at. And normally, any of our county resolutions, amendments, we start them immediately, and so that's what we're looking to do here. Tim Whibble is our legal counsel from Ballers and Cooney on our ordinance issue. Would you like to speak to that, Tim?
Sure. By default, most ordinances take effect upon publication, so that's kind of the typical standard. In the initial draft of this ordinance, it was more complex and brand new for your zoning commission, your board of adjustment, your zoning administrator, and so the initial draft of the ordinance had it starting January 1st in order to allow some time to prepare for that, but it seems in further conversations with the county and with your staff that people are ready to go. And so the consideration on the agenda is to basically return to form, to return to the normal effective date of ordinances, which is upon publication. And that typically takes 7 to 10 days after final passage by the supervisors. It has to be published in the local newspaper, and so the date, I believe, is November 11th. The anticipated date of publication, so that would be the anticipated date, effective date of the ordinance. And then the way your zoning ordinance is drafted, each time you make an amendment to it, you update the first section of your ordinance that says when it's effective. And so this will be incorporated into the existing ordinance, and the whole thing will be effective as of that date, and you'll amend the audit trail.
Okay.
Okay?
Any questions, you guys?
None.
Okay, thank you. So with that, do I have a motion to change the effective date from January up to immediately, which would be around November 11th?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Charlie, second by Darren. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. With that, do I have a motion to open up the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Darren, second by Charlie. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. So now we're opening up our public hearing. At this time, I'm going to give a brief, short background of how we got here. Okay? This is the final public hearing of 3. This zoning ordinance was first proposed back in August, then referred to our Planning and Zoning Commission for their consideration in September. The Planning and Zoning Commission submitted a written recommendation to the Board of Supervisors on September 30th to proceed ahead with a hazardous liquid pipeline ordinance, along with a recommendation to add setbacks to private wells, which we amended in this ordinance. The Planning and Zoning Commission also submitted to the Board of Supervisors 9 written comments they received at their public hearing. On the back table, or I should say out in the lobby, there's all kinds of trees that have been killed and information out there. Everything we've received, you have copies of. There are copies of the Planning and Zoning written report, the Planning and Zoning written comments that were submitted, all the letters and resolutions of support that
our board has received and been submitted to us, are also on the table. The ordinance, as it stands today, is out there. And I'm sure anyone who's had interest, and there's been a number of you, have had ample time to ask questions, look the ordinance over, and become familiar with it. So with that said, I'm going to read some guidelines that we have for the public hearing today. We welcome public comments during the hearing. In general, individual board members do not respond to public comments during the hearing. Each speaker is limited to no more than 3 minutes of speaking, must speak from the podium, and must first state his or her name on the record. Comments should be directed to the board as a whole and should refrain from personal attacks. We will start the timer after the speaker states his or her name and should conclude when their remarks when time is called. We're going to conduct this meeting as we have all the other meetings. We haven't had sign-ins and it's went beautifully. Everybody's been very patient and taking their turn. We expect everyone to politely take a turn, and speakers may line up in single file behind the podium when I finish here. The Board of Supervisors will field questions related to the ordinance once the public hearing is completed to clarify any sections in the ordinance. Just a little background, we've had 20 people speak to address the board in support of the ordinance in the past 2 public hearings. We've had no one speak in opposition. In addition, we have around 14 written comments that have been submitted, all in support of the ordinance. So with that, we will start taking comments. You can start single file up here at the podium for anybody who would like to address the board.
Good morning, board members, some of our elected officials. My name is Tom Coleman. I'm the general manager of Regional Water. We're the rural water district here for Shelby County. I had the opportunity to speak at the last hearing, and there were a couple of people who approached me afterwards and asked some really good questions that I didn't have the answers to, so I went back and looked some stuff up. So as I had mentioned last time, what we know of where the proposed pipeline route will cross our mains of the rural water system 12 times in the county. So that causes us significant concern. The greatest frustration that we have at this point is that no one from the company, any of these companies, has reached out to us and to even have an initial conversation with us about what their plans are, asking us where our pipelines are, they're supposedly putting this stuff in the ground about the same below the frost line, which is where our water lines run. So the question is, how do we deal with that? Where are they going to go? What kind of offset? Are they going deep underneath us? And how far down are they going to go to try and mitigate the risk to the pipeline being ruptured if there's a problem with their lines? One of the other things that I had pointed out to me is this. So in Shelby County, we started rural water 50 years ago. This is our 50th anniversary. When the pipe was first put in, the earliest pipe in the ground, there was not the technology for locate wire. And this pipe is very hard to know where it is because the maps were basically hand-drawn maps and et cetera. So chances are pretty good that if I go out and try to locate a pipe, unless we've already had a break that one of y'all discovered and we dug down and found it and repaired it, we don't know exactly where the pipe is. And therefore, by law, if we miss locate the pipe while they're bringing their pipeline in, if we miss it by 18 inches on either side, then it's on us. And the amount for the repair. So the cost of repair, all of the damages associated in labor will come out of our pocket, which means it comes out of our users' pockets, because that's a cost that we will have to recover somehow, and that's basically by raising rates. Okay, that's just with the mains. There are a number, we're still working on the network, the web of smaller pipes that go into groups of houses, that sort of thing, that we still don't know exactly what the total number of times that this pipeline will cross or interfere with the water lines. And my personal opinion, In the grand scheme of things, I think safe drinking water is a little more important to, at least to me and my family, than a high-pressure CO2 pipeline. I'm not saying it shouldn't be here, but I am saying that we need to make sure that the priorities are set. And it is the intention of Regional Water to contact the Iowa Utilities Board and express our concerns in writing to them as well, specifically as it relates to those issues. So with that, I thank you for your time.
Okay. Thanks, Tom.
Morning.
Morning.
My name is Jennifer Lefebvre, and I'm the Emergency Department Manager at Merchant Medical Center. And I'm writing to voice my concern about the safety of the CO2 pipeline running through our communities and farmland. As an emergency department nurse who works closely with EMS and fire in our community, I have great concerns about the increased need and expense to consistently and regularly train responders to mitigate and manage a potential pipeline failure. This places more responsibility and burden on an already very limited, valuable resource in our community, our volunteers. While researching emergency response to CO2 pipeline rupture, it's abundantly clear to me that mitigation of this type of incidents is very much behind the installation of the pipelines. Emergency responders, EMS, ER departments, fire departments need clear and concise plans to respond to these emergencies. I am in support of Shelby County's hazardous CO2 pipeline, liquid pipeline zoning ordinance as presented. Thank you.
Thanks. Morning.
Morning, I'm Tim Barrett. Welcome everybody for being here. I own a farm that will be cut in half by this pipeline if it goes through. I also have one of the main rural water lines right to the edge of it too, so 10, 12-inch line. And I can look out our house window and I can see the route that they're going to take, and that's too damn close. Got grandchildren around there. It just isn't a good situation. I farm, I will be making passes across that pipeline day in and day out during the farming operations. I don't know, it just isn't a good thing. It's all about billionaires making big bucks, and there's nothing to do with anything that's good for any of us. That's all I have, and I hope this works out.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
My name is Rick Chipman. My wife and I raise corn, soybeans, and hogs west of Harlan here. And yes, some of our land is dissected by this proposed carbon pipeline. Thank you, Board of Supervisors, for your attention to this matter and your efforts surrounding it. As I spoke to Senator Jason Smits and Republican Representative Steve Holt briefly this week, I expressed my concerns, and it was evident that the board here of supervisors not only leads Shelby County but the state in this effort, and we appreciate that. Thank you so much. In part one, I addressed our concerns of the proximity of the hazardous line and what it has to our family and employees' dwellings, as well as the proximity to livestock units that we operate. Also, I addressed the land damage issues, but this is part two. I've only dealt with 2 pipelines running through our ground. One was rural water when I was young, 50 years ago evidently. I won't say how young. This water line serves residents in the local economy well, but it was a mess going in. When they cut through the tile lines and flooded the trench, it was unnerving to see. They did fight leaks early in the years, but rural water is filled with clean, treated drinking water and services thousands of people throughout the region and emergency backup for a lot of livestock units, which we're involved in. The second one is pertaining to the old natural gas line in Walnut. We bought this land 7 years ago. We received a call this spring. The pipeline going through your ground is too shallow. Do you have dirt to berm over it? We said, well, we have dirt. And do you know a contractor? Yes, we know a contractor. It's not topsoil, it's dirt. Okay? So then he said, well, we'll talk about this later. That was this spring. He said, we'll talk about it after the crop's out. Later is now. Yesterday, we received a certified letter from Northern Natural Gas. It's like 2 pages. I'm going to read just a wee bit of it. Certain types of deep farming activities are also to be reported to your state's one-call center. Common examples of deep farming include chisel plowing, deep ripping, subsoiling, building waterways, setting posts, tile plowing, terrace projects, land leveling, and other significant dirt work. Report any abnormal conditions. Really, that's 3 minutes. Ooh. Okay, I'll conclude. The jury is not out on carbon sequestering. And, these technologies will change and improve, and I wish I had more time to finish. But my family has been asked to do a multi-generational decision on something that we oppose in so many ways.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Tammy Kobza. Can you all hear me, or do I need this mic? Okay, I got a loud voice. Good morning. I'm Tammy Kobza, and I recently moved to Pottawatomie County, about half an hour from here, from Sioux County. Grew up on a farm in Nebraska, and I want to thank you guys for the ordinance that you have passed to protect Iowa's land. I am the field coordinator for the John Birch Society, and farmers, I beg you not to sign the easements. There's no such thing as man-made global warming, climate change, etc. CO2 is the gas of life. Iowa is ground zero for the globalist takeover of our land and our production, and we must continue to feed the world and protect our land here. Our company, our organization has been focusing on you all, how brave you are. I've passed your ordinance around to every county that I can in Iowa, and you are the model legislation. We thank you for your courage. Know that ethanol plants might be a thing of the past in 10 to 15 years. If some of these globalists get their way with the electric vehicles, they won't need ethanol anymore. And so it is a scam. Stand up to it. We're here to help you. You can contact me. I've got some materials here, but it's the United Nations Agenda 2030 that's being implemented here in this great state. And we can beat it, but we must join together like we all are doing, it looks like, and don't give up. It's not hopeless, even though it is elitists that are coming after us. We own the land. Don't give it up. Don't sign easements. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning, Roger Beeson, Harlan Fire Chief. I'm also the chairman of the board for Tri-County Special Operations. Tri-County Special Operations responds to specialized technical rescues, including hazardous materials. So that is some of the hats that I wear. I just want to stand here. I read through the ordinance, and I am in support of the ordinance. We respond to a lot of hazardous material incidents since the inception of Tri-County Special Operations, which was formed July 1, 2007. in those 15 years, we've gone to a lot of hazmat calls. And so our mission there is to protect life, environment, and property, in that order. Okay, so that's why I'm here to support this ordinance. I don't want to speak on for or against the pipeline. Some of you may have questions whether we are prepared to respond, and we continue to have part of our training program. We are trained in a wide variety of hazardous materials, including pipelines. So if you care to speak to me any more in depth on that, I can speak to you after. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Roger.
Mary Powell. Our impacted farmland is located in Shelby County, just north of Erling, Iowa. It will cut through our farmland, and it will also go between the family well and the pipeline that takes the water from that well up. We're concerned about the location of that in relation to our family well and what the vibrations will do to a well that's been in the ground for well over 50 years, along with some of those pipelines. Is it going to cause bursts? Is it going to contaminate the well? I also want to thank the board. We are very much in support of this ordinance, and I thank them for taking leadership on this. If any of you watched the State of the Union address after the presidential one when Governor Kim Reynolds spoke, she quoted the Iowa model, which you see posted right up there, which says, "Our liberties we prize and our rights we will maintain." She went on to state that Iowans should not have to worry about what is the next thing big government is going to do to impact them, to take away their rights, to feed the hands of the millionaires and the billionaires. So thank you for taking the leadership to help the Iowa farmers and the farmers of Shelby County maintain the rights to their land and help prevent the profiteering of billionaires and millionaires. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Cynthia Hanson. Our family farm ground is Century Farm Ground. It's been in our family for over 122 years, located over closer to Tennant. My grandparents, great-grandfather farmed that land for a lot of years, and my grandparents, my dad helped them farm for a number of years also. When he passed away, then he left it to his children. So my siblings and I own that ground together. It sits on a slope, so we have terraces, and the proposed pipeline will cut through our terraces. We've got tile, obviously, and we're worried about the damage to the tile. Silver Creek is at the bottom of our ground, at the bottom of the slope. So if that pipeline ruptures, we know that the gas, which is heavier than air, is going to settle downward. And our neighbor's hog confinement is at the bottom of the hill also. So we're definitely concerned. We did not want him to lose hogs if there's a rupture or a major leak. So we are very grateful for the Board of Supervisors, the Planning and Zoning Commission, and everybody that has put in all the hours of work that they have to bring this ordinance to where we are for the final vote today. And we highly encourage and hope that you will pass it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Jenny Barnett.
Morning.
Superintendent of Harlan Schools. I just want to say this is the third time I've spoke, but we appreciate the board, and we are very much in support of the new ordinance, as we are only a half a mile away from, and we need it to be longer, the 2 miles for sure. And we just appreciate that you're protecting our students and our staff. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Sherry Webb. I am related to Cynthia Hanson. We're sisters. So our family is extremely grateful for all the time and the effort to bring this ordinance to completion today. All of us would like to see the setbacks farther in distance, but we also understand the difference in being reasonable and ending up a court case.
Over 122 years ago, our great-grandfather did buy land in Shelby County. Who knows how much he paid for it, but obviously it was worth every penny to him because the land is more than just the land. My sisters and my brother and I are caretakers of this land now. It's always been more than just land in our family. I remember going out there, sitting under trucks, sitting under wagons, eating lunch with Dad or Grandpa. There's just so many memories when you're a farm kid that being out on a farm it's just the best life ever. And you guys that have ever grown up on a farm understand what I'm talking about. Some of you may have received new offers this week. Be very careful. They've included damages in those offers. You really aren't getting a better offer. So please don't sign. Hang on there, guys. We'll beat this yet. So I want to thank Tim Whipple for all the work he's done and the trips back and forth from Des Moines. I've driven that. It's not a lot of fun, especially in road construction time. The Board of Supervisors, thank you. All three of you guys, especially. Mark, all of you guys have been involved in this. The Planning and Zoning Commission, they're all volunteers, so we thank them over and over again because they mentioned the setbacks on the wells. And the county employees have had extra work due to this. I'm sure Mark's tired of making copies. The copy machine's probably squeaking at this point. So our family is totally in support of this ordinance, and we truly, truly appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I'm Julie Kaufman.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you to the board. Everyone here appreciates the work you've done. And I kind of feel like our local government is the only ones that really are standing up really strongly for us. A lot of our state and especially the federal government, they just want to push it through and they don't really care about what we have to say about it. But if this is truly a country where we have a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, we are the people and we do have power. And we have to use our power. And so I appreciate this group so much because, you know, they are trying to just railroad it through. And if you don't sign, they're going to take your land with eminent domain, which is intended to be used only for a public use, like rural water or something like that, or an absolute necessity. And like this other woman said, CO2 is absolutely necessary for life. You have to, I learned it in grade school. Photosynthesis, we recycle CO2 to make oxygen, and some more responsible ethanol plants are recycling, and that's what they should be doing. We should be recycling CO2. It can be done. It can be done safely. I'm not against ethanol. I'm definitely not against ethanol, but I am against taking away people's rights. This is going to go right through our family farm, right through the middle, and we're doing everything that we feel we can do. In fact, yesterday I went in and my husband and I made a petition a building permit. We got a building permit to put up a church because you can't come within a half mile of a church. So we're going to have a little lifeline church on our property in all night. I don't want to. My husband's grandfather, his father, him, our son-in-law, and our daughter, and we got a ton of grandkids that would like to farm that land and to continue to raise crops on it. And we have a great life on the farm. We want to keep that life. I don't want to have to. I keep our grandkids. I babysit for them all the time, and I don't want them to be in danger. It's a very real concern. It's a very real safety concern. It's an environmental concern. And it's about our rights. We have rights in this country. And if we don't stand up for them, we will lose them. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is. Good morning. Thank you for letting me speak today. My name is Jess Mazur, and I'm the Conservation Program Coordinator with the Sierra Club Iowa chapter. And I've been traveling the state working with landowners from river to river, from border to border, who are adamantly opposed to these projects because They have nothing to do with ethanol. They have nothing to do with climate change, but they do have everything to do with capturing a lot of public dollars through the 45Q federal tax credits. And they're going to benefit from this. They're going to make a lot of money. And here in Iowa, we're going to have to reap all the consequences. Our land's going to be destroyed. We've set bad precedent for the use of eminent domain. Just countless reasons. The public money, the externalized costs, just the amount of time counties are having to work on this. The amount of money landowners are having to spend to hire lawyers. And this is just a boondoggle. It's not good for our state. This is greed. It's pure greed. And we're seeing it across the state, whether it's the Summit, Navigator, or Wolf Pipeline. Iowans don't want it. And many people have said this already, but I encourage you, do not sign easements. Hold out. They're only going to get better offers, and that's what you're worried about as we go through. Because at the end of the day, getting you to sign is cheaper than taking you to condemnation court. We have every reason to believe that in the next year, we're going to stop these pipelines. If you sign an easement, you're going to have an easement on your land, and you're going to have to get out of it. Iowa has never seen an opposition like this before, and that's why I have every reason to believe that we are going to stop these pipelines, because there are more of us than them. And if we stand together, and if we stay united, and we say no, and we support our supervisors who take action, we're going to stop these. And I see we have two state legislators here in the room, and I hope we have your support, because we really need you now. Iowa needs you. We have to protect our state from this bad boondoggle. And one thing I thought would be a good idea to just kind of just show what I see in every single county that I go to is asking, if you're against the project, will you, and if you're able, will you stand up and show that to the supervisors and to the media that you are against the project? See, we stand united here. We stand united in Iowa. We're going to stop these projects because our future and our legacy and our land is more important than these companies' profits. Thank you very much. Thank you, supervisors.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. I am a reintroduced resident. I'm Lois Rosemond's daughter. My name is Kathy Byers. My background is in chemical engineering and also teaching chemistry many decades. I worked at a chemical plant when I was a student. They made anhydrous ammonia and ammonia nitrate, and one of the side products, and yes, it is a product, was carbon dioxide, which we sold. We didn't bury it. The idea of having a pipeline to move carbon dioxide, which you'd have to do high pressure, low temperatures, extremely low temperatures, and burying it in the ground miles and miles and miles away makes no sense whatsoever. And how do you protect this pipeline with the extreme low temperatures, extreme pressure? It boggles my mind. It doesn't make sense. Whereas if you produce carbon dioxide, there are so many uses in the chemical industry where you can use it profitably. I keep thinking, what would happen if you flooded a greenhouse at night, for example, because plants like carbon dioxide. Trees like carbon dioxide. Treat it as a resource. If any of the hog farmers said, I'm going to pump waste through miles and miles of lines and I'm going to bury it in a hole, I think everybody, well, the city people, would be really upset, especially if it's close by. No, they wouldn't want waste buried. But here again, they're saying, we're going to run carbon dioxide through instead, which, again, makes no sense. Use it. Put it to use. Carbon dioxide is not a waste. It's a valuable tool in making things in the chemical industry, the agricultural industry, and let's not line somebody else's pockets. That's all I got.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Morning.
Hi, everyone. My name is Joan Gall, and my husband Robert and I, and two of his siblings and their spouses, own a farm, an effective farm, in Shelby County, north of Erling. And from day one, from the very first meeting that I went to way back a couple years ago, I was against this plan. Because it just doesn't make any sense to pipe the carbon dioxide under such pressure so many miles. And in case of a rupture, that bothered me from day one also. Because not only, affecting our farm and the people that could be crossing the land, but coming by these towns and cities like Harlan, where there's schools and hospitals and nursing homes. Every little town that it's going to go by will be dangerous. And I want to thank the supervisors so much for being an example for the entire state of how to have an ordinance against these pipelines. And someone was mentioning all the offers they were getting just this past week. Our family received a whole stack full of huge envelopes offering this enormous amounts of money. But no matter how much they promise us, we are not going to sign. And please don't anybody else sign. Thank you. I want to thank Jessica Mazur too for all that she's done for us.
I'm Lori Hope. I am from the Department of Public Health. Good morning. And I just want to reiterate what we talked about the very first meeting, that we have to put public health and safety first. And we commend the Board of Health and the Board of Supervisors for working together to ensure that public health and safety comes first. Thank you for everybody, and thank you to the Board of Supervisors for your leadership. Many counties are following you.
Thank you. Morning, Todd.
Morning. I'm Todd Galena. I'm the director of the Shelby County Chamber of Commerce and Industry. I spoke at the first hearing, and just to follow up on that, as we know right now in our rural communities, we need the opportunity to expand. We need to expand housing, we need to expand retail, we need opportunities to grow. And that's driving major support of this ordinance, and it's always been something that our planning and zoning has done, and our Board of Supervisors has protected that 2-mile buffer that we have around all of our communities to allow us to have that growth, and have that expansion. So appreciate all the work you've done, and from a personal level, it sounds like if we get to pick up a couple more churches in the county, that's not even bad.
Thanks, Todd. Anybody else? Morning.
Good morning. Tim Ballin, resident of Crawford County, Denison Township, Section 28 is the proposed route for the CO2 pipeline. Fortunately, our cohorts today are in the northern portion of that section. I'm a landowner in the southern portion of that section. When this first came out, I thought, this is ridiculous, because how can a private company, for profit, even have any thought that they're going to railroad this thing through with eminent domain? And I looked it up, and I'm not one that goes on the web and looks things up that regularly, but it says right there in the Iowa Code, this is reserved for public entities only. And here we are. So it is with that, I have great admiration, respect, certainly want to give a ton of thank yous to the Shelby County residents and the Shelby County Board of Supervisors and all of the other entities that have spoken in favor of supporting an ordinance. And it is through your efforts and so forth that Crawford County is now in the process of going through this. They've had the first ordinance review. There's been some tweaks that the county attorneys are going to be adding, as I understand it. So thank you to the people in this room that are leading the way and providing that leadership, not only in western Iowa, but as my sister lives in eastern Iowa, and there's been talk of this ordinance being brought up and so forth in Delaware County as well. So you have made an impact, you have made a definite footprint in the fight against this, and I just hope that we all are successful and can hopefully put this thing to rest. So thank you again, Board of Supervisors.
Thank you. Anybody else? Well, I'm going to say one thing, because there's one word to describe the way the meeting has gone today. It's passion. There's a lot of passion in this room. So, thank you for that. Anybody else? Okay. Before I close the meeting, I'm sure some of you that know me are going to be surprised by what I'm going to say, but I have comments for myself. First, I just want to thank everyone for taking the time out of their busy schedule to participate in this important process. This is your ordinance. We have asked for your input, and we've listened. Here's some of my own personal comments. My job as your county supervisor is to prepare and protect you as best I can should a hazardous liquid pipeline be constructed in our county. My job, our job, in a sense here, is to focus not on stopping it, but to make sure we have a strong ordinance in place so we all can play in the same sandbox together. A lot of you have heard me say that before. This is not about winners and losers. This is about all of us working together and cooperating and communicating. There are rules and guidelines established by our comprehensive plan, which we've had in place since 1998. This isn't anything new, which we intend to follow with the adoption of this ordinance. This ordinance is all about protecting Shelby County, protecting our master plan use, protecting our community planning goals of each city in the county, protecting the goals and objections for economic development. And I also want to read to you a quote in our comprehensive plan that's a huge statement. And so, you know, the comprehensive plan was put in place, like I said, in 1998. That most comprehensive plans, they spend 1.5 to 2 years putting together. It's not just they got together for one meeting. There's a lot of thought put into this, okay? It says in there, without exception, the greatest priority in the urban portion of the county is the preservation and improvement of basic infrastructure and the creation of new housing opportunities. That's just not in Shelby County. That's every county, that's every city in the state is looking for housing. What this says is we need to be protecting our future growth, which becomes our tax base. Without that, guess what? If our tax base gets stagnant, goes backwards, everybody in this room who owns property is going to be paying a hell of a lot more. Protecting our residents' safety, along with the safety of our first responders. Ensuring these public servants have adequate training, knowledge, and access to personal protective equipment. We need to be protecting our livestock, which is our livelihoods. Protecting our rural way of life and quality of life. We have it pretty nice here, and we know that. And we want to keep making sure that that is still what separates Shelby County from a lot of other places. Last but not least, protecting who and what we have stood for in this county for the past 171 years. We are working together. We are protecting our vital interests for this county to move forward. Thank you. With that, do we have any I mean, I gotta apologize here, I need to look at my list here, so make sure I follow things in order. Is there any questions about the ordinance that you need clarification on before we close the hearing?
Did anyone ever get back to you about what is the definition of the hazard zone? I saw that in there, it says the hazard zone, but it's undefined. How big is the hazard zone?
No. These will all have to be a part of the process.
I can answer that. The hazard zone is determined by, when we respond to hazmat, we have what's called the hot zone, the warm zone, and the cold zone, okay? And we isolate the area to protect everybody, then we prepare ourselves to work into the hot zone. You cannot say, this is what the hot zone is going to be on every incident, because it changes on that day, what the temperature is, what the humidity is. So we have our resources that we look up for emergency response, and we have to make those decisions that day, when that incident happens. Okay, does that answer your question?
And would I be wrong to say, Roger, it would also depend on whether it's a rupture, small leak?
Yes.
What type of material?
Yes. And when we respond, we always take the approach upwind, uphill, and upstream. We isolate the areas. We have farther isolation areas downwind, downstream, downhill. And then we secure that area and we develop our response plan right then at our command post.
Yes, we have it in our ordinances, Julie referred to, we have our hazard zone, our blast zone, our fatality zone, that if any hazardous pipeline company wants to participate in our county, they'll have to submit that data information to us as part of their permitting process. Okay, so we'll get that as we move forward.
So you will have it in place before the move forward?
Yes, according to this ordinance, the ordinance is passed.
Has to be great. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing? Motion. Second. Motion by Charlie, second by Darren. Any other questions, guys? Comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Now, consideration of passage of ordinance number 2022-4. Do I have a motion to approve the ordinance?
Motion.
Motion by Charlie,
Second.
second by Darren. Do you guys have any other comments?
None.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Thank you. So with that, and as Mr. Whipple had stated earlier, if the publications go as planned, Mark, is this correct? The ordinance would go into effect November 11th. Okay? Now, with that being said, with the ordinance being passed, one reminder to all the landowners that are impacted by this, who have not signed yet, this does not affect anybody that has signed, okay? But going forward, anybody that has not signed, you will need a conditional use permit that we have in our ordinance. With this adoption, landowners and the pipeline companies are reminded to apply for a conditional use permit with the Board of Adjustments, which is located in the assessor's office. Tony is the administrator, Tony Buman of Planning and Zoning. You can get the permit at his office. He will take it to the Board of Adjustments. The reason for this is they will check on setbacks, making sure the landowner and the pipeline company, whoever they may be, are following the ordinance. If they check all the boxes, then they will be issued their permit. And it's really no different then Tony came in, he wants to build a hog confinement on his farm. Right now, he has to come to the Board of Supervisors to get a permit with the matrix. We check the boxes to make sure we have all the setbacks and everything, so this is nothing new, folks. And same way with pipeline companies or whoever, the utility companies out there, they have to get their permitting with utility permits and everything, so it's just part of the process to make sure everybody's following the law. Okay?
The forms are still in development, but they'll be ready by the 11th.
Pardon me?
The forms are still in development, but they'll be ready by the 11th.
And with that said, I appreciate very much, this hasn't not been easy. I started this journey back in the end of April, looking at ordinances. There's none in the state of hazardous pipelines. And so it's been a journey, and it's taken everybody along that journey. But Tony with the administrator, with the planning and zoning, the commission, they put in their volunteers, they put in a ton of time, really put their heart into it, because it is about us, it's our ordinance, it's Shelby County, and all the people that have participated. It's not just the Board of Supervisors, it's everybody out there. So I appreciate what you've done. We couldn't have done it without Mr. Whipple here leading us along the way. His legal expertise, second to none. So appreciate that. So with that said, I want to thank everybody for coming today. And meeting adjourned. Thank you.